everybody, and welcome back to You Can't Win. This is Tom here, and I'm joined by Don as usual. We have our returning third mic, AgileTablet, joining us once again. Today we'll be discussing Christmas. I thought this could be a fun topic to discuss. We can talk about the religious dimension of Christmas with Don as a Christian and Tabs and I as Muslims. How do we relate to that? And talk a little bit about how it's a little different this year with the pandemic and all that stuff going on. So yeah, I don't know. Is anything different for you guys this year? It's a little weird. I guess Tabs and I are doing the same thing. But, yeah. So I guess I'm asking you, Don.
Yeah. Well, we did do like a quick little gift drop off to Toronto. Just kind of dropped off stuff on my sister's front step and sort of waved in the pouring rain. And so it was not really the same thing. And it was like, last weekend and stuff. So not really the same as like a big traditional getting together. We'll probably have like a Zoom dinner for Christmas. Oh, really? Yeah. Well, we'll have like one side of the table and, we'll have the camera, whatever. And yeah, that's going to be fun. Our Zoom does not work well. I mean, we're already on like a, tin can to string connection here. And it's not really, anyways, but yeah, so I don't know. It's not really as thing. Plus, in terms of my own self, it's more just obviously my niece and nephew and stuff like that. That's the fun part of it kind of thing, right? Like it's just like myself is not really fighting to get up as early as possible to open a PS5 or something as I would if I was a kid or something. But like, yeah, so I don't know. But yeah, it's kind of strange. It's like it's weird how a lot of the stuff that I was the teen who quickly pointed out every year that Santa Claus is some Coca-Cola thing or whatever, and all that kind of stuff. And all of the, like, it just was all like very cringe and very like annoying. Although I did always have like a warm feeling about Christmas kind of thing, like, different ways. So, yeah, it's strange. So in preparation for this episode, I watched Passion of the Christ again, the 2004 Mel Gibson film. And I had to kind of fast forward through parts of it because parts of it are just unwatchable, like just
really
bloody mess kind of stuff, just really, really gross horror kind of things. But like, oh yeah, like just pouring blood out and stuff, just really, really messed up. But like,
I knew that, like I remember that was like the thing when it came out.
Yeah,
how gruesome it was, but I've never seen it, so.
Oh yeah, it's pretty bad. But like, the Christopher, it reminded me of like almost like a Christopher Nolan movie though, or something. Like it was like a Batman movie because it's like it's all dark and like green and at the start at least like in like green and orange and stuff and like all really really strange kind of movie, like just everyone's sort of like brooding and saying profound things and time is slowed down a bunch of times for emphasis and stuff. Like it's like a superhero movie, except that like the superhero is Jesus kind of stuff. So
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, and they have like the Middle Eastern lament music throughout. Oh God, kind of thing,
that is so annoying.
Yeah. But the thing I didn't remember, I remember them complaining that like it was anti-Semitic and stuff, and I thought like, well, to some extent, any movie that deals with the topic is probably going to get some, except for maybe like Jesus Christ Superstar or something, but like most of them are going to get like some backlash for that. Sure. I was very wrong about that because there's like is
it really that bad?
It's like 20 to 30 minutes during the start and then throughout kind of thing of like just solid like Pharisees being like I don't know, being like just, I mean they do stuff like you can kind of tell that like there's sort of like Hollywood, any sort of like Hollywood movie now, they have to make it so that like there's sort of like the moral gray where like, if one group is shown doing something bad, then there have to be people within that group being like, this is bad. You got to stop it kind of thing. So there's all that kind of stuff in it. And I mean, but yeah, no, just like I don't know. The costumes are cool though. I don't know. All the big rabbi costumes and stuff, I guess, yeah.
Did they speak Aramaic in it?
Yeah. That's the other thing, is that the whole movie is in the traditional whatever Mediterranean languages at the time or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Like so like the Roman soldiers all speak Latin and stuff.
Is it? I mean, that's hard to deliver as an actor, like if you don't actually speak that language. So are the performances any good when they're speaking a language that they don't even know?
Not really, but it's also like they're you know, like the Latin just sounds like Italian, like when they're speaking.
Yeah.
Like it just sounds like that's how it comes across, like that musicality to it. And I don't know. It's a very strange movie. It's funny though, like that the tie-in sort of to the Christmas stuff is that like it's strange to be like, oh, this is cringe, this is, you know, annoying, this is weird or whatever, and then watching the movie and stuff like that too, and then kind of being like, yeah, but at some level, like it does reflect what I believe about things or something, you know, like it's like the movie is all like this weird, bizarre stuff that happens, and then you're like, yeah, but like the basic
but that first
story,
20-30 minutes that you were talking about.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. It's strange to think of that way, right? That like, oh, I guess I do think that like God is cool or whatever. I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, that's always the way the story is told. I don't know. I wouldn't feel too badly about thinking it is weird or cringe or something like that, because like the things that you find like off or silly about it are probably not like the core elements of the story. Sure. They're like the weirdness that what are those like super Catholics called that he's part of?
Opus Dei, stuff like that.
Oh, is that? I think there was another term that I was thinking.
Mel Gibson is an Opus Dei.
Well, his dad was. Yeah.
His dad was a big.
Oh wow.
Well, yeah. So they're like the pre-Vatican II, like whatever that term is.
Well, Opus Dei, I know what you mean. Like seeds, they're called online, like Sedevandicus or something. I don't know, something like that. It's like some.
Okay.
But those people are a bit more extreme too. They tend to believe that like the Pope is not actually the Pope, kind of thing. That like it's being vacant. Right. But I think Opus Dei is like within the actual tradition. Like it's like contemporary, like with it's like it thinks that the Pope is the Pope, but although that stuff has gotten really, really weird in the last like few years, like just like there's like an archbishop, which they're gonna have to. I mean, just they'll have to do something about. Like they will have to. I don't know. Maybe they're just playing out the clock or something. But like he's doing all this stuff about like saying that like basically that Pope Francis is in league with Satan and all this stuff or whatever, basically. Wow. So, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's one thing to not like that he's the Pope, but damn.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if like a good chunk of people believe that like Pope Francis is not the real Pope and that like Pope Benedict is and stuff, which is pretty predictable outcome maybe to some extent of a Pope resigning, but like so it's very bizarre. I don't know. So, but I mean, you see that throughout history, I guess, too. It's not like, there's always like anti-popes and all that kind of stuff, or like people. Well, like just I mean that like,
not new.
Diversity and like problems in the religion or whatever are not new, but like it's a very strange situation with all the just in terms of like seeing people online that are like MAGA people, like getting really deep into that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's kind of funny because a lot of the intellectual infrastructure of the Republican Party are Catholics now. Like the actual like, like the people that do heavy lifting on the ideology kind of stuff.
Really?
Like, well, like the like I think something like 3 or 4 of the Supreme Court justices appointed by Trump are Catholics and stuff like that. Like the Protestants tend to lean more into the kind of Pentecostal or what I mean, like the different like Christian fundamental stuff tends not to be as intellectual, I think, in some ways. But so anyways, it's very strange. But so what are you guys doing for Christmas?
I don't think that we're going to be watching Passion of the Christ.
Yeah, sure.
Although I remember one time, it was for I think it was for Christmas. It might have been for Thanksgiving, but we got, we meaning my parents and my brother and I were invited to a different aunt and uncle's place than we usually went to on the holiday. And so we said we would stop by the first one, the people who usually invited us, the aunt and uncle. We said, okay, well, we're going to this other place, but we'll stop by your place on our way home and still say hi, and we can, have dessert or whatever. And we get there, and it's my two uncles and my one aunt. And my aunt is like ignoring us. She won't even make eye contact with us. And my uncles are watching Gladiator. And my one uncle is just drunk as a skunk. And that's not something I'm used to being around as a kid. Like, that never happened at like holidays and stuff like that. I was very... it was very strange. The other one was just trying to pay attention as much as possible to the movie. By the way, the tie-in is the Mediterranean warbling. That's what ties the two movies together. But yeah, he was just totally trashed, and we just kind of were like, oh, okay. And then I remember him lying down on the ground in like a Christ pose and like wanting to go to sleep. And we're like, okay, we're going to take off now. Thanks.
He T-posed on you.
He did, but like with his eyes closed on the floor. So it wasn't really.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we're not doing that this Christmas, that's for sure. But
sure.
My parents told us that the ladies are in charge of Christmas Eve and the men are in charge of Christmas Day. So my mom and I are going to be cooking stuff for the first day, and then I guess the second day is more laid back and it's more like hors d'oeuvres and snacking and stuff. So the guys are going to be in charge of that. And I'm excited because we usually have Christmas with people in my family who never want to eat seafood or fish, and I always want to do Feast of the Seven Fishes for Christmas. So now we can't do a feast because it's only 4 people, but I will get to do seafood this year, so I'm excited.
Oh, did you get the green light on that?
I got the green light, yeah.
Oh boy, cool.
But it's not going to be anything special, so it's like, oh, shrimp or something, Yeah. I don't know.
So
it's nothing crazy.
So what is the Feast of the Seven Fishes?
Oh, that's a good question. I really don't know what it's okay. It's a Catholic thing, as far as I know, and I know it as an Italian thing. Parts of my Italian family did it, but also parts of my Lithuanian family have done it too, because both nations are mostly Catholic. I think, as the name says, it's like seven fish and or seafood dishes instead of any terrestrial meat. And I think we've done up to 12. I'm not sure if there's a difference, if there's like, the number of apostles or the number of this, that, or the other thing. Like, I don't know what the symbolism is there, but it's just basically eating seafood and fish instead of meat.
Yeah,
that's about all cool. I know about it. So, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I was just wondering if there are like if it's a specific 7 specific dishes.
No, because it varies by culture. Like, one of the things that I remember having with the Italian side of my family was baby squid, like stuffed baby squid. Oh man, that was so good. With like breadcrumbs and parsley and seasonings and stuff, and oh man, really, really good. And then something I remember having with the Lithuanian side is roasted eel. We actually had some eel one time, which sounds, if you've never had eel, it probably sounds pretty gross, but eel is pretty good. And yeah, I just like everything, like herring. Again, that would be on the Lithuanian side. Italians don't really eat herring, but bacala would be something you might have. That's like the salt cod dish. That's more like Italian, or I guess it's Mediterranean because like Spaniards eat it too.
That one's fun to say. I always
Bacala.
like just saying
Yeah.
bacala. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a word that means like a bunch of horse hooey or something. Like, that load of bacala,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just picturing Don hates
I know.
seafood, so I'm picturing him like walking in and being like, "Oh, that's okay. I'll just have something else." Oh, hold on.
Yeah.
I know. When I said shrimp, I was like, oh man, I've already lost him.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, the squid and the eel stuff is probably even further
Yeah.
afield.
No.
Yeah.
You know what it sounds like to me? Like when I hear that stuff, it sounds like the Mos Eisley Cantina or something kind of thing. Like Star Wars. They're just like you go in and there's like some guy with like giant eyes eating like handfuls of eel or something kind of thing. It doesn't. I don't know. I'm like, well, that's their culture and I respect it or something, you know. So yeah, it doesn't really appeal to me as I don't know, but I don't know. There's no logical reason why I shouldn't be able to try some of the stuff, but I don't know. I think it was like a year ago now that I was talking to like a dietitian person about trying fish. I was like, maybe I could try fish as like a thing to like do. Didn't follow up on that one yet, but it's only been about a year. I don't know. I've had it a few times, but like, yeah, just not really.
You should try like fish and chips or something. That's really that's a good entry point, I think, especially since you like chicken prepared that way, basically.
Yeah,
I feel like
I had that last when I was like 17 or something, so I might
Okay.
I might try that again. But yeah,
Yeah, there you
I
go.
don't know.
You've had it before, so at least you know it's not totally new.
I think I liked it at the time too. I got like I don't know, so but I'm pretty stubborn, so
Yeah.
we'll see.
I really like fish and chips, like with a good, really light batter.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like poofy,
Sure.
bubbly,
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah, it is very good. I love fish and seafood so much. So, yeah, it's hard to get good stuff here in the middle of the country, in the middle of the continent. but I do really love it.
Do you know what it used to be a big part of my life, but is not in the last 15, 20 years or so? But like,
What's
was
that?
like chip trucks and stuff like that. Like like
Chip truck?
chip trucks, like places that like sell. They're basically like food trucks, but they only sell basically like French fries.
Huh.
Or like there was like a place at this plaza near us where I grew up that like just basically sold. I mean, I guess it must have been like a. It must have had like sold fish and stuff too, but and this is the thing that like you can kind of. I think this is a predictor of future health. Maybe that I did this, but my dad would go there sometimes to like the chip truck place. I don't even know if it was like we call it chippies or something, but like and get the gristle, like all the leftover bits that had been stuck in the oil. So it just was like saturated with oil and all like crispy and stuff.
Well, the
And
crispy
we would
sounds
just-
good.
Oh, it was extremely good. But I'm thinking about that now, and I think if I ate even like a bit of that now, I would just throw up or something. Like it wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like I'm on the other end of
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Where like if I see something that's really spicy and like saturated with sauce or something, I'm like, oh, there's no way I'm going to be able to eat that kind of thing. So I don't know. We'll see. But yeah.
That sounds like a very British thing. I think I've seen that in the UK.
Yeah.
Well, I know
And
they
chip-
have
chippy
chip
also
shops
sounds like-
Yeah.
and
chip shops.
and
yeah.
chip buddies and stuff like that. But I had no idea that was a Canadian thing. I've certainly never heard of it before.
Oh, really? I don't know.
Yeah.
I just I don't know. Maybe that's also like an 80s or 90s thing too. I don't know. Like here,
Oh,
you
Sure,
know, I don't know if
yeah.
it's as big a deal as it was. I don't know.
sure.
Do they serve the fries or the chips in like a cone of newspaper? Is that
Yeah, stuff
how
like
they do
that.
that?
Or like they had like these little things that look like the Chinese takeout containers, basically, like the little fry things that you
Oh
get. Like
yeah.
yeah. So I don't know, but I don't think that like Toronto has kind of jumped on the food truck bandwagon though. Like that used to be huge. I mean, like that is huge in like a lot of places in the United States. Is like a revitalization thing or something. I guess like, and I guess it's not in Chicago if you're not, you know. But like,
yeah,
a little bit. I think it's expensive.
Well, there was a lobby that got out in front of it that got a law passed that said that you weren't allowed to have a food truck within 500 feet of a food establishment or something like that.
Oh, really?
So there are only a few areas where they're even allowed, because the restaurants just made sure that because they saw it coming and they wanted to get out ahead of it.
Sure. Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so there's not many food trucks in Chicago because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I really enjoyed that on the West Coast.
Oh yeah, there was a lot in Seattle. Or...
Yeah, I guess Portland is the big food truck place for the Northwest. Yeah. But Seattle had a good number of them, and they're just you know, there's some that are bad and some that are good, and the ones that are good, it's just a really good deal. Like you're getting a good, you know, value. It's very affordable, and then you can see the kitchen basically.
Yeah.
You know, so you can tell if they're keeping it clean and if they're doing a good job and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed that. And it allows like them to do different things because they're mobile, right? So they can kind of like do something really niche and then move around, so they're not kind of stuck in one location where that might not be feasible, you know. But if they're essentially able to cater to the entire city, then they can do something that's a little bit different. And so like there's like Native American food trucks and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of it. It's a lot of like fry bread and stuff like that, but you know, it's cool that they're doing stuff.
That's like the only fry bread is like the only American Indian food that I've had, and I don't know if this counts, but I've had sopapillas in New Mexico, in like heavily native places in New Mexico, and those are really, really good. They're like little dough pillows, like they're air on the inside. They're poofed open, and then you have them with I think drizzled with honey and like whipped cream or something like that. I remember the honey specifically, and those are really good. But other than that, I really haven't had a lot of American Indian anything. So what other than like fry bread, do you remember anything that they sold?
It was pretty like whiteified from what I remember. The thing about it is, I think if you try to go like in this very where you only do Native American food and nothing that it could cross over into like Mexican or American, you know, like standard American kind of stuff, you're left with very little. And I think that's why you end up with like fry bread, which was just like, you know, something they came up with to survive kind of thing. It was sort of like they did fry bread taco.
Right.
Sort of
okay.
Deal. I think that was the basic thing. There's like corn and stuff like that involved. I don't remember all the specifics. Only went there a couple times.
Were they mostly like teriyaki places? In
the city, you mean?
I mean the food trucks.
Food trucks?
Yeah.
Actually, the teriyaki places in Seattle were like proper restaurants.
Brick and mortar.
And I think that's because they're a little bit, brick and mortar. I think they're a little bit older.
They've
been there a while.
Yeah.
The food trucks, it's a lot of Mexican, and then like, I don't know what you call them, like startup food concepts and stuff like that. Yeah.
Sure.
It's a lot of like late 20s, early 30s white guys with tattoos and beards, and homemade pickles and all that kind of bullshit.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
No, I mean, which can be good.
Sure.
You know, that's kind of what we're about. But yeah,
speak for yourself.
It's a little bit samey.
Yeah. So I guess you've directly answered this, but just you're allowed to get together there and stuff. I guess like you're allowed to. Like, there's no like ban on like households mixing or anything like that.
Not that I know of. No, not that I know of.
Yeah.
No, I think they're recommending less than a certain number of people, but I don't know. Tabs and I and her parents have been effectively in a bubble like practically the whole year.
Sure.
So we kind of like just do what we want, you know. It's kind of like, as long as it's the four of us, we feel pretty comfortable with that.
We see them once every few weeks, and that's about it. They don't really. During the summer, they were seeing other friends because they could like be outside with them, but since then they haven't seen anyone, and we haven't either. So the exposure that we have is limited to, you know, going to the grocery store or something. So yeah, it's just been us four. I was really agonizing over about Thanksgiving. Like I was very much leaning in the direction of not doing it because of the cases having ramped up so much around here. But at this point, I feel a little bit like, what else can we do? You know, like, what can we do? I've been taking every precaution, and you know, I don't feel like, I feel like we're being pretty safe about it as far as those things go.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like at a certain point, if you're not sick and they're not sick and nobody has really been in contact with a lot of other people or with the public or anything, then that's about as good as you're going to get.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no guarantees, but there never are anyway, even if you don't even think that. Like, I have a friend who got it from attending an outdoor wedding. Like, what else are they supposed to do? They all wore masks the whole time. The actual bride and groom's parties got tested, and it was still outdoors, distanced, and he still got it. So what are you going to do at a certain point, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, to answer your question, I don't think there are any actual legal problems with us getting together for Christmas. What is it with around you? Is it okay to do that?
Oh no, it's all. I think it's not allowed. Yeah, I think it's. I don't think
really?
that you're. Well, yeah, I know it is, and I'm 100% or pretty sure it's not allowed in Toronto. I don't think you're not supposed to get together, but like
that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's also like my brother-in-law in Toronto is a teacher, so and my niece goes to a school with a lot of kids and stuff, and my nephew has a lot of like health problems, so they're also like extremely wary about it, which makes sense because you know, you don't want to like give it to a bunch of people at a school or something. So yeah.
But yeah, I guess besides just having like a slightly fewer people attending, where it's going to be fairly normal for us.
Yeah.
Do the Christmas Eve dinner, and Christmas Day is like just kind of hanging out during the day. Sure. When do you guys open presents? I forget if you do it Christmas Eve or Christmas Day.
We do whoever else is, like, when there's more than just the immediate family.
Oh, right.
We do those
right,
the evening of, and then all the ones for the family whenever we're together. So when we were kids, that was Christmas morning, but now that we don't sleep over, at my parents' place, that's usually just after the other guests leave the same night. So it's all going to be rolled into one this time.
Yeah, we used to do one present on Christmas Eve night, and then the rest Christmas Day, and that was supposed to be a way of like splitting the difference for the Finnish tradition and the American tradition. Not that anyone really cared, but that's kind of how my mom wanted to do it, was like half and half.
Sure.
So in Finland you normally...
What's the difference in the traditions?
Well, in Finland you normally open up your presents Christmas Eve night, and somebody like in the community, like a distant uncle or something like that, will dress up as Santa Claus, like somebody who the kids won't immediately recognize, and he'll come by and like, just say hello and drop off presents and tell the kids, make sure they're being good so they get more presents next year and all that kind of stuff, that sort of thing.
That's cute.
And Christmas Day is not so much about presents, it's more just like a feasting kind of a day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we usually open them in the morning on Christmas Day, all of them, and starting with our stocking. And then the rest of the day is just relaxed. And then we have like a big meal in the evening. And the big meal, usually my mom tries to include like elements that are like Ukrainian kind of thing, like pierogies and a few other things that she likes and stuff. So yeah, and that's fun. And then the next day is usually like, well, when I was younger, the big thing the next day is that it's like a big sale day here. It's the equivalent of Black Friday. So it would be like, anything I didn't get that I really wanted, I would like consider buying and stuff like that. So it was like a big day of like, oh man, the DVD for Fight Club's on sale or something, stuff like that. I don't know. So, yeah.
Cool. Did you guys ever do anything like religious specifically, or was it just sort of the typical like cultural kind of thing?
Yeah, we would go to church most years, I think, on Easter and Christmas. Those were like the 2 days that we went. We had like a period of like a few years where we went like a lot more, like most Sundays. But I'm not sure why exactly, but like but like just that's just, I mean, like I'm not sure what brought it up at the time, but like yeah, we would go a lot more. And yeah, but other than that, yeah, just Christmas, like Eve, I think we would go maybe, or Christmas Day. Yeah, we would go Christmas Day, I think. And yeah, I don't know, it's funny because churches are packed those 2 days, obviously. Like those are like the days that like people who are sort of like culturally Catholic, that are not as invested in like just going every week or whatever, they'll show up then too, so that the priest sometimes, I remember, would be like angry almost kind of thing. They'd be like, you shouldn't just be a cosmetic Catholic. You should come all the time, or kind of, stuff like that.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And
Ramadan is the same for Muslims.
Oh, yeah?
There's a bunch of people who normally don't go to the mosque to pray, or maybe don't pray at all, and then they pray during Ramadan and stuff. And it's not really the imams who get a bad attitude about it, but it's the guys who are always there who like get the front row and stuff. And now there's all these people who they don't have beards, and their daughter doesn't wear hijab, and it's like, these people are showing up, stinking up the joint. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like, do you think it'll be different? Like, do you have like a different attitude towards this kind of stuff now? Like both of you, like of like these kind of celebrations and stuff. Like, is it just like a fun cultural thing or something, or it's just like a nice thing to do out of politeness or something, or would you do it down the road, do you think, anyways?
Just speaking for myself, yeah, it never really has been at all religious for my family. Like, I think maybe a few members of my family went to church like on Easter, and that was pretty much it. Like, I certainly have never gone on any of the big holidays, and none of the family that's close to me has. So for me, it's very just, I don't want to say it's just American, because obviously more people than just Americans celebrate Christmas. But I don't know, it's just like a midwinter holiday with like family, food,
Sure.
Generosity, and that, I don't think there's anything there that is gonna forbid me from joining in that in the years to come, and I would like to keep it up, even when my folks aren't around and that kind of thing. Like, I think it's still good to get together with your family and exchange gifts and be kind to one another and eat good food,
Yeah, that's basically the same deal with me. My family was very non-religious, and Christmas was always just like taken as, like you said, midwinter holiday, more like a celebration of like cultural heritage almost more than anything else. It was like a time to kind of like do something Finnish and then do something like American, and kind of like that took more center stage, I think, than anything about like Christianity or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking almost like I was trying to think of a comparison of how I sort of felt about it when I was younger. I think it was something almost like I like that it was absurd to take it seriously kind of thing. Like it was maybe like a nice thing that people did, but it seemed kind of crazy to think there was any real religious dimension to it or something. And the way that I was trying to think, and it's like, it'd be like if Woodstock, you know, like if someone said, you know, don't do a bunch of drugs and listen to, you know, rock and roll, whatever, you should be thinking about peace and how we're going to end the war and all this kind of stuff, you know. Don't like make it just a big party, you know. And it'd be like, I don't know, but Woodstock is like, just, that is what it is kind of thing. It's just a big party or something. So yeah, it's something like that. Like it was just an absurd thing. And I still feel like that, like, you know, we you know, irony poisoning is still a thing kind of thing, you know, like it's like it's hard to kind of get past that at some level to actually commit to it at some level, you know, beyond, I mean, I do at like a sort of deep part in my soul or something, but like it's hard to not feel embarrassed about, you know, like the taking it seriously or something, you know, like in terms of like like in terms of like an actual deep kind of thing like and I mean like in terms of like you know, the actually going to mass all the time and stuff like that, and actually going through all the different parts of it. It's hard to do it and not want to, I don't know, like, and it's funny because it's like it's a way of not, it's like feeling like I would be disrespectful or something if I was like not willing to back it up 100% or something. I don't know. Like
so you don't even want to try, like, start going down that road?
No, I mean, eventually I want to you know, participate more publicly and stuff, but like it's such a thing, especially like in interactions with people online and stuff or whatever, like interpersonal kind of stuff, where you know, I'd just rather just go with the flow kind of thing than to sort of stake a claim a lot of the time. So I don't know. So, you know,
no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I can kind of wrap my mind around it and I believe it, but it's like it's hard to take it to a step where you're like you fully embrace the idea that it's not just a holiday or something kind of thing. So it's hard to, you know, skip to that
you know,
level. So
the fact that you use skip, the word skip, just it, for me, the religious aspect of Christmas is utterly distinct from the cultural one. They seem really, really, and that's not as true with holidays like Easter. I feel like you know, you can still tell the difference between, you know, like Easter egg hunt. You know, obviously that's more of a cultural thing than a religious thing. But the significance of Easter, I think, is a lot more present in the holiday than Christmas. Christmas, just like it feels like two parallel holidays. They don't really seem to meet at all. Yeah.
yeah. They just happen to be on the same day.
That might make that even more of a like weird gap to bridge, you know?
Yeah. Sure. Do you think that Tabs? Do you think that like so, you know, Tom had said and you had said the both sort of like we're Muslim kind of thing, right? So we haven't really talked about this on the podcast at all, about your sort of conversion and stuff, that, or walking down that road at least. Like, do you think that? Do you have that sense too? Like for like something like going on Hajj or something like that down the road or something.
Yeah.
Would you be like at some level kind of feel a bit of embarrassment about it or something or like that? You know, like, you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to be honest about it. It's like hard to like there's a difference between going, oh yeah, that's all right and that's good and it's it's like a worldview that I understand and stuff, and then also being like, okay, I'm in a crowd of people performing this ritual or whatever, and I want to be able to defend it to the nth degree all the way down the line if I'm, questioned on it or something and stuff.
I go two ways on that, because on the one hand, I basically just don't want to do anything super publicly if I don't feel like a basic degree of competence in it. That's it. Like, I don't feel like I need to be an expert in something in order to engage in it, but I do have to have like a basic level of competence. So
sure.
In that sense, something like Hajj, like I don't even like wear a headscarf, like
Sure.
Hajj is like a little bit crazy for me to consider at this point.
Yeah.
But and of course there's, the idea of like, if you jump into something before you have the full context and like some like good basic knowledge, like, I don't know, I don't like doing that, because then I feel like a fraud, and I don't want to
Sure.
I don't want to commit to something that I don't really know.
For sure.
But at the same time, I feel like that also can very easily, especially for someone like me, become a crutch and an excuse of why I'm not already doing something. Because it's just not good enough yet. It's just not good enough yet. Like, well, when is it ever going to be good enough? Especially in like religious spaces, I feel like there are lots of people who really just are happy that you're there and don't mind if you don't have like fluency the way they do, and are very willing to bend over backwards just to include you. So yeah, maybe to people outside the religious community, it would look like weird or silly, or like, why is this person doing that? But within it, I feel like there are so many people who just are happy that you're there, that I don't want to let that sense of, like like diving in, I don't want that to keep me from doing that, if that makes any sense.
Sure. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why we keep all the non-Muslims out of Mecca, so they can't see all the goofy stuff we get up to around the Kaaba.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing with Christmas, I guess I should kind of give a little spiel. People might be wondering about this, about how Muslims relate to Christmas. There's sort of like two attitudes about it. As I've kind of described in the past, there's like the culture war that exists in North America also exists inside of the Muslim community, and Christmas kind of gets divided in this way too. So you have the people who believe that it is haram to participate in anything to do with Christmas because it's a non-Muslim religious holiday. You're effectively imitating non-Muslim religious practices, which is explicitly haram. And so they want nothing to do with it. And, it's, I think that is the surface level argument that they give. I think if you even scratch that a little bit, it kind of doesn't really hold up, because so much of Christmas is not really religious. Like, as Tabs and I have been describing our family experiences with it, it has nothing to do with any religious thing at all, so how is it imitating a religious practice to do things that like atheists do? You know what I mean? So for people who say that, I think that's really more of like an identity thing. They're really trying to hold on to like a Muslim identity, and it would feel like a bit of a like assimilation, dilution sort of thing going on if they started to like get a Christmas tree and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
And,
which, fair enough, but
sure,
for people like us, it's like the opposite direction of that. I think it would be weirder for us not to. That is the culture that we come from, the culture that does Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, I know converts who do the whole, like, they don't celebrate Christmas, they don't celebrate Easter, they won't even show up for it and that kind of thing. And, people do, they have different approaches to this kind of stuff. I got no problem with that. But
right,
for me, it's never been a religious thing. And so it's always been more about like family, and it's just like a nice thing to look forward to in the dead of winter kind of a thing. Like, it's more like that. And on the other hand, in a weird way, it's almost taken like more of a religious character now as a Muslim for me, because it's, you know, Muslims celebrate the Prophet's birthday, and that's called Maulid, and that it's not as big a thing today as it used to be, thanks to various modern styles of interpreting these kind of things. The Salafi thing has kind of really put a damper on that. But that used to be the biggest celebration of the year historically. That was bigger than the Eids. You know, it's one day, so it's hard to say it's bigger than Ramadan, but it was like the big day of the year, you know? So Christmas, I can kind of see it like that. It's not necessarily I don't have to buy into any specific Christian theology to celebrate Christ's birthday. You know, that's something that is perfectly in line with Muslim beliefs, and that's an element of the holiday that had no resonance for me prior to becoming Muslim. So it's almost kind of like, I don't know, weirdly more, I feel closer to that side of things than before. But that, you know, I have to give it my own unique kind of spin on that. I don't do anything special for it. It's just like, it's Christmas, but I can kind of like think about it like, you know, it's a day to think about Jesus and stuff like that, you know? So.
Yeah, I think if we said that to my parents, they would be like, okay.
Right. Yeah.
Is there any story in Islam about like the nativity, like the whole birth of Jesus and all that kind of stuff? Like, is there?
Yeah, that's in the Quran. It pretty much sticks to the same story as, from what I understand, is like the Christian story. I think there's actually an additional miracle that is that Jesus is described as having, where he is able to speak like as a baby.
Oh,
like,
really?
Very, very young. And I forget what he says. I think he says something like, I will speak to you now, and I will speak to you when I'm older, or something like that. It's something like that, and there's some specific way that you should understand the Arabic, so I'm not even going to try to do it, but in some way it prophesizes his death. Like, I forget the whole story there. But I heard someone lecture about it, and it was kind of interesting. But basically the nativity story is essentially the same. Muslims take a lot of the stories of the prophets and stuff. They're taken from Christian and Jewish traditions, and they're sort of understood to be from that, and there's a little bit of distance there where it's like, we haven't authenticated this the same way we've authenticated Hadith and Quran, so it's not something that you can, for example, you can't like make takfir on someone who has a differing opinion on something like that, because it's just we haven't authenticated it. So there's no, you're not actually denying anything. You're just saying like, I just don't buy that this is solid evidence or something. But it's actually called like Israeliyat or something like that.
Oh yeah,
meaning like, like the Jewish traditions.
So is Jesus considered like the king of the Jews in that tradition? Do you know, or like in that sort of thing? Like, is it?
I've never heard of that.
Okay,
I don't know about that.
Yeah. So yeah, I know like that's a big part in the like the reason why the nativity and stuff is. The way that it's structured is a lot of it is like around the birth of the king kind of stuff. Like it's like it mirrors this whole thing of like the traditional birth of a king of Israel or something. It's supposed to be in different ways, like this king born in bizarre circumstances kind of thing, like born in a stable or whatever, like a manger, like just in basically like really bad conditions kind of thing. And a lot of the signs in it are like just, I don't know, like it's supposed to all kind of mirror a traditional Jewish king's birth or something.
That's interesting.
And that's a lot of the sort of things that about from just American culture or whatever are sort of reflect that in different ways, like the three wise men kind of stuff, all that. It's supposed to be like the witnessing of birth of a king and stuff, basically, or like witnessing the infancy. I guess I don't know. I'm not sure of the timeline of it, but yeah, like I don't know. I find that kind of stuff kind of interesting. It's hard though because like a lot of those kind of narratives. Well, first there's the extrapolation from it over time into like all these different traditions that might not be actually in the Bible kind of thing, and then there's also in the Bible, there's like a lot of, it's sort of like a short thing in some ways. Cause it's like, it's like the prelude kind of to bigger stories, but like, it's interesting that like, like everything in it is just like cram full with like symbolism kind of thing. Like everything in it is supposed to kind of show that he's like the new Moses and stuff, or like the new David and stuff, or new Adam. And so I know it's interesting that like that's how a lot of the different parts of that narrative sort of are structured. I don't know. So
yeah, I didn't know about that. That's cool.
Me neither.
Yeah, I don't know how it works in Islam in terms of I don't actually even know like the outcome. I know it's supposed to be that like he's almost executed, but then he's like whisked away or something. I'm not sure what's the.
Yeah, it's a little bit ambiguous.
At his birth?
No.
The crucifixion, I think.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Quran is ambiguous about what exactly happens, but is very clear that the death does not happen.
Okay.
So people have different interpretations of this. So I think what the Quran says, I forget exactly the wording, but it's something along the lines of, he did not die, but it was made to appear as such, and he ascended up to us. And us being like, like a royal we that's sometimes used. God sometimes uses he or we or I, like it changes. So a very common understanding of that is that Jesus is put on the cross, and then God like intervenes and he just rises up to heaven. He just doesn't die.
Yeah.
There are other people who, going into other like more obscure kind of sources and stuff, have said that it was somebody else who was put on the cross, and that can kind of fit with what the Quran is saying. It was made to appear so, and then as a later thing that happened is Jesus ascends up to him. Mm-hmm. Like it doesn't have to be in that exact same moment. Some people even have said that Jesus is put on the cross, but then through like this miracle, it's like someone else is like substituted for him, and then Jesus is saved that way. But basically the way I interpret it is I am open to any kind of explanation. I just don't think it's you can kind of rest on anything as being like the sure answer. Mm-hmm. And I think it's entirely possible that because martyrs are said not to die, but to live with God, that may be what happened with Jesus. When it says he did not die and he ascended onto us, that's the same thing that happens with martyrs. But when we see a martyr die in the world, we don't see it as, he didn't die, he just flew up into the sky. Yeah. we see someone die. Yeah, right?
Sure.
And that's what people saw with Jesus. So, and in fact, again, that's what the Quran says, right? It was made to appear that way. So it may be a reference to some sort of like background thing that is going on in some dimension we don't see, where it's like, from God's perspective, the death didn't happen in that sense because like only the surface level physical death happened, and that's not really what he's speaking about or what really matters, Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I'm just kind of like, don't have any specific take on it. I'm just kind of open to whatever sort of interpretations people have, except those that seem really kind of forced. Like, sometimes people just try to force some weird reading of things for whatever reason. And, I just think there's a lot of fairly solid explanations, but no one can say one way or the other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I just don't, I'm not sure how to judge that. It's just, so I think, it makes sense to me what you're saying, but it's just, it's hard to, I don't know, like position that within. Obviously, I've not read the stuff, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's like the most, I think, most direct point of contention between Islamic and Christian narratives around Jesus. I mean, besides like the Son of God thing, I think that's like the big one. It's like the crucifixion means a lot for Christians. And for Muslims, we're willing to just kind of be like, I don't know what happened. Maybe this happened. Maybe, you know.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe it didn't happen, you know, at all. So
exactly.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the Jewish take is on it. They're just like, good, got what he had coming.
God.
Troublemaker.
No, yeah, I think it is that it's like just, you know, wise man that was killed by a mob kind of thing. And
yeah, okay.
I think in like that it wasn't like a direct, obviously like it's not like there's no collective guilt involved. And
sure,
it's more
I'm not trying to.
Yeah, sure.
I just wasn't sure what the interpretation of that was, because I did read at one point that I don't know what proportion of Jews believe this, but that some number of them actually hold that like Jesus was a false prophet, and that is like a great crime and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, yeah, you know, it's not a big deal what happened to him, basically.
In the actual, I think, Bible and like, you know, the tradition, it's supposed to be something like that. Like it's that like there's sort of that he was like a troublemaker kind of person who was basically throwing things into throwing the legitimacy of the traditional rabbinical courts and stuff into question, and then they certain elements within that then sort of conspired to get him killed for blasphemy and stuff. So for claiming that he was the Son of God and stuff, and claiming that he was the rightful king of the Jews and stuff. So yeah, I think that's sort of like the mainstream narrative. It's one of those things, but that's one thing I think about a lot. Not a lot, but like it's something that I want to think more about, is like the correct way to be polite about that and like actually, you know all of the sort of details and stuff of that kind of conflict kind of stuff, because it's difficult to, you know, you're not, and you'll never learn that from online, basically, kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
like you'll go in like some wild direction with it either way. I don't know. So, yeah, I don't know. I do think that like at the end of the day, it's helpful to have like kind of a pluralistic view about that kind of stuff to some extent, like to kind of go, you know, you understand that it's like if someone is sort of wagering that God exists and has positive sort of morals around that or something, it's like, I don't know, it's like 90% of it kind of thing. So it's not really, I don't know.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I really appreciate having a specific position on this sort of stuff, in terms of like, I know where I stand. Like, you know, I have a Muslim perspective, but then being open to like, okay, well, these people think this, these people think that, and appreciating that for what it is. I think that's, yeah. I don't know, that just feels a lot better than having this very like unaffiliated worldview where it's just like everyone just has opinions about things.
Sure.
That seems very I don't know, it because you don't have any specific ideas about a thing, it almost feels like anytime someone does, it's hard to take them, it's hard to not be patronizing. It's either like you're just completely distanced from it, or you're just like, oh, well, that's nice, and then you move along to the next thing, and you can't really engage with anything. So you feel like you're inherently sort of adopting this like position of superiority, or you're just like, I don't actually exist. You guys just kind of do your thing.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, pick a side, listeners. So one thing that's kind of been weird, just to change subject, I guess. One thing that's kind of been weird this year for the holiday has been getting presents and stuff like that, getting gifts.
Mm-hmm.
It just hasn't felt like, I don't know, it kind of crept up on me, and I'm usually pretty good about like planning out my Christmas gifting and stuff well in advance. I've been pretty good about that the last few years. Like throughout the year, I keep a wish list on Amazon that whenever I see something or think of something that would be a good gift for someone, I like throw it on there. And then by the end of the year, I usually have like 90% of my gift ideas like ready to go. And I don't always get it from Amazon, but it's just a handy place to keep the list.
Sure.
And yeah, this year I've had some of those ideas, but I haven't actually ordered anything yet. Like we're going to be late on things, I think. And it's a little bit difficult to just run out and pick stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So, I don't know. It's just feeling weird. On the other hand, we have an easy excuse because the mail has been so slow and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. My mom's very frustrated about this kind of stuff. Like she hates shopping online.
Yeah.
And she wants to be out in the mall, kind of looking around, trying to figure something interesting or new or whatever to get different things. And yeah, so she's sort of begrudgingly learning how to shop online, and I don't know. So a bit different though this year, yeah. So
I hate shopping just in general, except grocery shopping. I really like grocery shopping. Every other kind of shopping is awful, but and I just mean to say that as much as I hate shopping, online shopping is that much worse.
Oh yeah.
It's very hard for me to, like, I always need to, to see things, to feel them, to smell them, like that. I know that sounds weird, but anyway, point is I feel your mom's pain. There are obvious advantages to shopping online, but in general, I really hate doing it because it's so much of a crapshoot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In terms of quality and stuff like that.
Yeah, I like looking around, seeing if I can get a deal and stuff, but it's also hard to, like online, but it's hard to actually do that because, all the sale prices and stuff are just fake in different ways, I guess. So,
yeah, and I can't trust any reviews and, this, that, and the other thing. It's just, I mean, even when, like, if you go to a physical store and you try on a shirt and you try it on in the blue color and then you try the same shirt on in the gray color, depending on the organization of the company that made those shirts, those could be made in different factories in different countries. You can't trust the fit. You can't trust the cut. Like, how the hell are you going to find something like that online? I don't even want to shop for groceries online for the same reason. Like, you're not going to pick the best produce for me. I can pick the best produce,
Yeah.
So I really don't like online shopping, except for the obvious, like, it comes to my door. But even then I feel bad because I hate wasting all of that packaging and all the fossil fuels that it takes to get that shit to me. Like, I really, I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry for the bitch session. I just had to get it off my chest.
No, I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. I mean, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, that's what this podcast is for. It's to complain about society in different ways. So, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but it should be nice. I think it's like Thanksgiving was really nice. Just
it was nice.
Very, very much like a change of pace or something somehow. I don't know. Just it was nice to have like a get together.
Yeah.
And I think this will be the same.
Yeah, and I don't know. Now that my folks have retired, these events and holidays are not like fraught with stress and anger constantly. Like,
yeah.
No one's blowing up at someone else and anything like that people tend to associate with holidays. Sometimes it is very much like it's pretty ideal. It's nice. Like, we actually have a pleasant time and enjoy each other's company, which is, that's like what you what more can you ask for from a holiday, you know?
Sure.
Yeah, I've never experienced that whole family antagonism stuff that people talk about so much.
I don't really have that kind of stuff, but just like the preparations for the holiday are very stressful, and like getting the meal prepared and everything ready at the same time, and the house clean beforehand, and all the gifts wrapped, and that's the kind of stuff that usually causes people to snap at each other and stuff like that. It's not like I'm a Republican and I drive like this, and I'm a Democrat and I drive like this. It's not it's not that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, whenever people are going on about that, I'm like, not quite sure how much of this is not their fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure.
You just never know. But yeah, I hope everyone has a nice holiday. However you're celebrating it, however you feel about everything. And yeah, happy holidays, everybody.
Yeah, happy holidays.
Alrighty, so let's kick off this question section here with a Christmas question. This one is, which culture has the best Christmas?
Well, I'm biased, but I really like the feasting Italian food for Christmas. I gotta say that it's really, really good.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I also have a little bit of a bias here. I'm kind of fond of the Finnish thing. It's just a little bit different than, I don't know, like the mainstream, like globalized version of Christmas. So it just feels a little bit special to me or something.
Yeah.
So, but I'm sure everyone has like whatever their like cultural thing is. I'm sure that that's kind of the case.
Yeah.
I've heard that Puerto Rican Christmas is cool. Like the foods are good.
Oh, well, we have had I made Puerto Rican rice recently, and that's like a holiday thing. And then coquito, you know, that's like the Puerto Rican eggnog stuff. It's like all the coconut and nutmeg and stuff like that, and with rum. That I've had that before. Every family has their own recipe, and that it's very sweet and rich. So
Oh, yeah. I don't think I've had that, but I'm familiar with that.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't really know much about the different Christmases around the
I
world
don't
kind of
really
stuff.
either.
I don't know. So,
You guys know about Japan, right?
no.
KFC?
Yeah. In Japan, they do KFC for Christmas.
Is it
Like, I guess this started like back in like the 60s or something, like when all the air bases, the American bases were popping up over there, and American, fast food and stuff like that was showing up. And so KFC was like the quintessential American thing, So when the American holiday of Christmas happens, they want to celebrate it by getting American food like KFC. KFC did like a special on a bucket or something like that, and everyone went and got one. It was a big hit, and they kept doing it year after year, and now it's become like a cultural tradition.
Wow. That's like a home run for marketing. That's like
Yeah.
it's like really, it's what you want. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I think the Japanese take to these kind of things pretty easily. Like, I think I heard the saying they have in Japan where it's like you're born Buddhist, you marry Christian, and you die Shinto or something like that. And that's just because of the different, they like just adopt these cultural practices for different things and kind of just make it like, this is what we as Japanese do. We imitate these people. So like their weddings, they dress up in like Western style clothes, the bride and the groom and everything. They have like a priest and everything. Like they do it the whole Western Christian style.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Japanese are kind of cool in certain ways. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a weeb or anything, but I think that kind of stuff is neat.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so I'll say Canada. That's my. That's
really
Is there
branching out.
Anything like special that Canada does for Christmas? Anything that kind of stands out?
Not that I can think of. The only thing that it kind of made me think of was there is like the winter holiday festival in Quebec City, which is a big thing. What's it? It's hold on. I'm gonna look this up even because Quebec, because it's got a cute thing to it. That's the thing. It's Quebec Winter Carnival, I guess Carnival de Quebec, and it's got this mascot. I'm trying to think what his name is. Okay, Quebec Winter mascot. Oh, his name is Bonhomme. So it's like it's
good man.
Like a Bonhomme, and it's this guy that's got like a red toque. It's like a snowman, but he's like a jovial character. Should look him up. He's cute. But so that happens in it happens in like February, I think, or something like that, or late January, early February.
This sounds like crypto Catharism to me. You know, the Cathars, they're like priestly types were called good men.
Oh yeah.
So I'm just wondering if there's a connection
I
here.
don't know. Probably. I don't even know when it started, but yeah. So,
Tom, do you remember?
Oh,
sorry. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, if this Bonhomme guy is not allowed to eat, then I think we got ourselves a story here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very interesting. I was just gonna ask Tom if you remembered a couple years ago when we went to the Christkindlmarkt. I don't know how to say it in German. Christkindlmarkt with my mom, and that was a nice holiday thing with the mulled wine and potato pancakes and baked apples and all that kind of stuff. That was pleasant. So
yeah, I guess that's all German.
Yeah,
stuff,
I don't know if that's like an accurate representation of what Germans do for Christmas, but it's nice here.
The mulled wine was always a thing for us.
Yeah,
that was one thing. My mom really likes that, and it's a very traditional thing to do in Finland, and I'm sure many other places. So
yeah,
it's nice.
I made glögg years ago for my family. Like I infused my vodka with like lemon peel and cinnamon and clove and all that kind of stuff for like a few weeks, and I brought everything over carefully to make it, and then no one had any. They didn't. They were just uninterested in it, so I didn't make it again. But I liked it.
We need to figure out a non-alcoholic glögg thing.
Yeah, I mean, just spiced grape juice is going to be pretty delicious. It's already sweet, you know?
Yeah, all right. So let's move on to another question. Okay, this one's a little bit of a longer one. It says, "Hey Don, I've really liked some of your past conversations about therapy and its value. Anyway, if you ever need or want to go down that road again, I know a really great Gestalt therapist in Toronto. I know that's a bit of a hike for you, but with the way it works, you really go when you need it. He's a lefty and works on a sliding scale too. Gestalt is a humanistic school of therapy that focuses on process, the social environmental context of your life. It was influenced by Dadaism, existentialism, and various radical strains. I won't get into details, but went through the ringer with the whole psychiatric system and different CBT groups and various conventional therapists, and this wound up being the only thing that genuinely helped me figure things out. Anyway, love both you guys and fondly remember your posting from back in the Something Awful days."
Yeah, that was nice. But
that's very sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know much about that kind of therapy. I don't know its like roots, whatever, other than what they just said. But yeah, I don't know. I have done the kind of thing too. I haven't looked at that particular one, but I've done that thing too, where I went around to different places in Toronto back in the day and like tried to figure out some alternative to. Where I went to psychoanalysis. I used to go to different like psychoanalysis, also like conferences or whatever and stuff for a few years, like, or like ones that were like, you know, just the different professional training ones and stuff too, even like just because or like what do you call it, like seminars. Yeah And I thought that they were really interesting. I was also like unhealthy at the time too. So it was kind of like a funny thing, where I like would write them a letter being like, please let me enter training for this. I cured myself with it and stuff, whatever. And then I was like, I don't know, that probably. So, anyways, they ended up. They were polite to me, but they refunded my application fee and stuff. But like, yeah, and stuff like that. Like, I went to one psychoanalyst guy, and we talked for a bit and stuff, and it was okay. And then he said, he's like, basically, he was like, you can't afford us, kind of thing. Like, he was like,
wow,
basically, because it wasn't. I mean, he was really nice, but like the basic thing is that like the way that the traditional like mainline Freudian psychoanalysis works is that like they want you to do it like 4 days a week for an hour for like 8 years.
Whoa.
It's just like, and you can end up.
Oh my gosh.
You can end up spending something like $100,000 or something just to.
I believe it.
Yeah, and
holy guacamole.
And so, and the thing is that I don't even know. Like, I'm not gonna say that like for like a logical thing that is like logically impossible that's a bad idea kind of thing. Seems like a bad. I can kind of understand the idea that like it might take a lot of resources to work through major problems or something. I can kind of understand that at some level, but like it seems like an insane commitment to make.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can understand why people working within that tradition moved away from it. A lot of them towards like psychotherapy kind of stuff that mixes it in maybe a bit. Like not. Tries to like include some of the insights or something, but doesn't. Anyways, so I kind of a lot of these therapies that are sort of like I see like my understanding of Gestalt is that it's like post-Freudian or something. It's like includes other stuff into it and stuff, but like it's an alternative take on it. I think a lot of this stuff also was like the mainstream American or like a psychiatric kind of model on it. It sees all this kind of stuff as being, like the equivalent of like Neanderthal for the human that walks kind of thing. Like it's like sort of like old, basically guy thinks of something in his head instead of like actual science kind of thing. Like I think that's like the sort of criticism. I actually do think that like there's a lot of value in that. Like philosophical kind of approach to mental illness and stuff. I think there's a lot to it, but I do think that there's also like the sort of mainstream CBT stuff, or even just like the biochemical kind of things, like taking pills to address schizophrenia and stuff in like a triage model of like just trying to get people to survive and like keep doing what they're doing, like improving and stuff. It's probably already a good start that then has to be supplemented with, maybe more intensive types of therapy for certain people if they want it kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know. I tend to be skeptical of a lot of like basically anything, but like, I don't know. I'll look into that kind of stuff though. I will like Google it and maybe read a few of the books that are related to it and stuff. I'm not going to go and I wouldn't be like, I'm not a Zoom guy for therapy. I don't think so. Yeah. Maybe down the road.
I don't know. Just remember what Mel Gibson taught you about those people. You know what I mean? Just watch out.
No. I don't know. Can we get canceled from just being like guys online? I don't know if that. Yeah.
All right, quick. We'll do a food question. How do humans produce so much rice? Shit's hard on your back to cultivate.
Yeah, I think about that every single time I see someone bent over in a field. It's brutal. I probably a better question for someone who knows agribusiness a bit more, because I'm assuming there are methods of harvesting that don't involve just people anymore, and that's probably why we're able to cultivate and consume it on an industrial scale. But yeah, no kidding. And also, I wonder at certain places that have a lot of rice in their cuisines that don't have wet areas to grow the rice in. It's very strange to me. I don't know how that happens.
I mean, I guess it's fairly easy to import rice.
That's true, but you'd think that most of the time local cuisines are a little bit older than just like contemporary global trade would have permitted. I'm talking about like
Well, I'm just thinking of like Japan. Okay, so maybe Japan doesn't have a lot of places to grow rice, but their neighbors do. So
yeah, I suppose so. They grow a good amount of rice though.
oh, they do?
Yeah, it's more than you might think for a mountainous place. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard like Japan has the highest population density in the world, and it's like 98% of it is not inhabitable. Like it's just mountainous, and so everyone just lives on this little sliver on the coast, basically, and it's just amazingly dense.
Yeah, that's true. I really like seeing stuff from those mountainous areas because the culture is like really, really different, like what people eat and just like daily life and stuff. I think in places like that, and this is true of Korea too, like the cultural cachet that comes with being in Tokyo or Seoul is like the divide between urban and rural here has nothing on the divide between urban and rural there. Like you are considered like a total hayseed if you're not from one of these big cities, megalopolises. But that's also why I find it interesting because it's like you get a look into like older foodways and stuff like that. So I'm a sucker for that sort of thing.
Yeah, that stuff is interesting to me too. I learned a thing about rice a little while back that you know how rice paddies will flood and they will like keep that flood there, like they want the rice paddies to get flooded.
Yeah.
I guess that is because it prevents diseases and stuff like that. It prevents maybe it's molding or something like that. It in any way it protects the rice while it's growing. It's not necessarily like that rice is so water greedy or anything like that.
It's not the consumption of the water by the plant itself.
No, it's just like an easy way to protect it without like
I see.
I think like bugs and stuff like that get to it otherwise.
So, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if that has anything to do with why it's cultivated so much. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. So next question. Since you guys are basically Gen X, have you met Nirvana or the Machine from Rage Against the Machine? Are we Gen X? I don't know.
No, that's just calling you old.
I'm on like the cusp. I'm right in between the two of millennial and Gen X. I've seen very, very like the definition's always different. I always see it like everywhere. It's always like different. And I usually am either like a very early millennial or like a late Gen X. So, yeah.
Yeah. To me, I was, when I was a kid, the stuff that I was watching on TV was the stuff that Gen Xers were making. So I don't really feel like I could count as, I mean, I already know that I don't because of when I was born. But I like stuff like, like the Nickelodeon shows that were really popular, like Ren and Stimpy and that kind of stuff. When I was a kid, that's like stuff that Gen X was making that was all referential to like the 70s cartoons that they had grown up with. So to me, that kind of excludes me from that because I was consuming what they were making, not part of what they were making,
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I don't know. Although millennial never really, I don't know, didn't really make much sense to me. I don't know. Like does the sort of like distinction never really, I don't know. I guess it's just like a shorthand, but yeah. So.
Yeah, to me, the big distinguishing factor has always just been the internet. Like if you grew up with the internet as part of your childhood in some major capacity, then it's kind of like you're a millennial. And like there are older people who got on board early, but for the most part, it's like younger people who just grew up around.
Yeah.
You know, even like for me, it was still dial up and stuff for a good chunk of that, but
Yeah.
you know, still formative.
Yeah.
And just definitely informed like cultural consumption and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. The internet, I mean, I remember using that stuff maybe when I was like 13 or 14 or something. It was like, 94 or 95 or something was when that kind of stuff started. Like computer connecting to some sort of network, whatever. That's when I remember my friends and I started sort of knowing about it. So I guess that counts. Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay, next question. Gorbachev was the greatest Soviet leader because he banned alcohol. Prove me wrong. I think he's got a point.
Did he actually ban it? I thought it was like some sort of like special tax on it or something. I don't know.
You probably can't ban alcohol
Yeah,
in Russia.
I don't
Let's be
think so.
serious
Yeah.
here.
So it's already faulty, but like I don't know. It's funny because that was like a real social problem. Like it was like they were actually trying to address something that was like a major, not just like social thing, but also economic and stuff. So it was really affecting. I don't know.
I remember, people were talking about this at one point. It was like, communists and tankies and those types talking about how the transition from the Soviet Union to like capitalism in Russia was a huge disaster on a humanitarian level. And like the birth rate dropped tremendously. People were dying in huge numbers and all this kind of stuff. And, that's terrible, obviously. But then someone points out like 25% of those deaths are from like alcohol poisoning. And I'm just thinking like, okay, I mean, I understand deaths of despair and all that stuff. We're going through an opiate crisis now that's not too dissimilar from something like that, I guess. But at some point I'm like 25% is alcohol. Like that's, I don't know. I can't draw a picture of what that is. It's like one in every 4 deaths is because someone drank that much.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just crazy to me.
Yeah. It's also, it's funny. I do like the contrarian takes on a lot of this stuff. So one of the things is that alcohol consumption actually did go down significantly when they did the anti-alcohol campaign. So it wasn't like just, completely... like it did have some effect, I guess. I think it did. And, but, I don't know. It was very well designed to make everyone angry though. So, yeah.
Okay. How about this one? Now that Biden has won, will Tom finally admit he is a cuck? What do you guys think? Will Tom finally admit that he is a cuck now that Biden has won?
I personally will disagree with that label because it involves me. I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
So yeah, that's not true.
Yeah,
Mr. Funny Pants.
Out of sympathy to Tabs, I will defer to her. I don't know. I won't interrogate Tom on this. I feel like that's his business, not mine. So.
Oh my god.
I don't honestly totally understand what the point is being made here. Now that, like, what does it mean now that Biden has won? I don't understand that part.
Yeah, I kind of ignored that element of it because it didn't make sense to me either.
I guess that Trump lost when you thought he could maybe pull it out or something. I don't know.
He's still got a chance.
Yeah.
Here's how Trump can still win.
Yeah.
It's not over till it's over, folks.
Oh boy.
All right, here's another one for me. I'm going to forcibly inject Tom with the COVID vaccine until he is completely retarded. Bitch, if you don't take that shit so I can go outside, I will throw a goddamn fit. This kind of thing is not going to promote the behavior you want, sending me this kind of stuff. Just saying.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's also a fool's understanding of the vaccine. For shame.
well,
Yeah.
I think we'll have Mike on maybe next week or sometime soon, and
nice.
to discuss the vaccine. And I'm sure he'll tell us all the great reasons why we should be taking it, and convince Tom that it's 100% above board and everything is,
He's going to show up with like a decanter of the vaccine and just pour us glasses.
Yeah.
Drink it down.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. All right. This is a little bit more of a serious question, I think. It says, I work for a local government agency in the U.S. I was recently told by a female coworker that the department has a problem with sexual harassment, but has asked me to keep some of the details of it to myself. What's my ethical obligation here? Do I speak up and potentially out her and maybe ruin my career, or stay silent?
So I guess, the question would be if it's hard to kind of guess what the actual, I guess maybe they're saying that they know more details themselves that they were told or whatever. I don't think it was like just there's a problem. There's also probably information that they know about the problem now or something kind of thing. So
right.
And also that like, they might feel like they have a reason to, I feel like it might not involve that person. It might be involve someone else that I don't know. But like, I mean, if you know the person involved and you're talking to them about it already, if that's the case, then I don't think you have like you don't have a responsibility to sort of out them, I don't think, or like take on their case for them without their permission or something.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
So and I don't know. I mean, is this one of those things where I'm trying to think of like a situation where you would have to, make the leap to tell people. I mean, it's hard also because if you tell like an HR person in your sort of organization, that that you might get it on record, but a lot of the times their job in reality is to shut down the complaint kind of thing, right? Like to cause a problem.
Oh yeah.
So, you might not really have the power that you might think you do to sort of gain some sort of resolution for people involved. I'm not sure. So, I don't know. I mean, I think that it would be more it's a sad situation, I guess, but like cost versus benefit, like what you think is going to happen versus, and probably tend against doing anything without anyone's permission or something. So,
Yeah, it also depends like what the severity of the thing is. Like if it's the boss is calling his secretary toots or something, like, that's one side, and then it can go pretty far the other way. So, there's a lot of factors to consider. We don't have all the details on that. It did say I work for a local government agency. So I'm thinking this might be a case for the TrueAnon people.
Oh, yeah.
Head over to those guys and they can, if that's your problem, those guys are pedo hunters over there. So you have any input on this one, Tabs?
I didn't really understand the question. I'm sorry.
All right.
I was just kind of hoping that would skate by me. I didn't understand this person. So someone told them something about what was happening to them?
It's not clear.
Okay.
Just that there was a problem. They know that there's a problem with sexual harassment in the organization.
Yeah. I think it could be implied, but it's not like confirmed here. But it does seem that speaking up would out that person potentially. So to me, that
the person who confided in them.
Yeah.
Yes. So
okay,
and that person isn't confiding in them in that they are harassing people, but that they know about it somehow. So maybe they have suffered something, or maybe not. Like that's really tricky to me. Like if it's making someone who's a victim to something, like, and making that public, that's I never want to go that route. You need Sharia people. That's all you need. You need gender segregation.
It's true.
You need cover those women up, and then we'll be good to go.
Cover everyone up, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, sure.
But...
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Just short of knowing more, I don't think I can answer, because, like you guys said, the answer on the books is always, if you see something, say something. But everyone knows that is not always the most prudent or helpful thing to do. So, yeah, without knowing more specifics, I apologize. I don't think I can answer. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, yeah, I hope that works out for you. Send us an update if things develop. All right, how about this one? Is a guy being extremely clean a far-right trait?
Oh, man. You guys could answer that. I'm sorry.
The personal is political. What's so funny?
I don't think that is related to anyone's politics, but that's a very funny question, so thank you for asking it.
Yeah, I guess, clean cut is like a common trope for like, I don't know. I always like, I take the side of that song, sign, everywhere sign, whatever, that Louis C.K. has a thing where it's the guy like pranks a guy by taking off his hat and showing that he had long hair and stuff. So I think that's pretty badass. So I'm going to go with that.
I think that maybe this idea comes from military people tending to be clean, as like 'cause when they're in the military, like they get all those inspections and stuff in boot camp or whatever, so maybe that's kind of where this comes from. And then like the hippies are supposed to be like the left, although like if you look at like a socialist country or whatever, that like all the like top communist people are not going to be like hippie types. They're going to be like more like the clean,
sure,
military type people.
Yeah, I think this is more along the authoritarian political axis than it is like left or right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, if anything, it's a positive thing to be clean, So it's like you can't, you don't want to twist this around and be like, oh, this has political implications, so it's actually a bad thing.
I definitely shouldn't be that. Yeah.
Taking a bath is fascist.
Yeah, right. There was that someone. Oh. Do you remember Clean Privilege? Someone.
No.
This is like in the late 2000s or early 2010s. Someone had a Tumblr called like Check Your Clean Privilege or something like that, and it was the same social justice rhetoric applied to the concept of bathing. So it was someone's scathing commentary on social justice being like, you don't know what it's like to be on the bus and people never want to sit next to you and stuff like that. It was pretty funny, but I kind of when you were talking about, Donald, the kind of like fashy aesthetic of like the ascendancy of the Hitler Youth haircut and all that kind of stuff. It's just kind of funny because you then see a lot of like the online like younger guys who like want to be part of this thing, trying to look like very dapper and clean cut, but you can tell that they still aren't. Like they they might like be able to like pomade their hair over, but they still are like only bathing like twice a week or something like that. And you go, oh, okay, well, you have the attempt in the outward appearance, but there's no actual cleanliness there. So I don't know how deep that runs,
Yeah. Or like someone like Donald Trump's son, whatever, like where he just looks like just emanates like dirtiness kind of thing.
He has the pig pen stink lines coming off.
He just looks like he would like reek of alcohol and stuff. It just like looks like but like that like everyone on the crowd thinks of him as like some like paragon of, I don't know, like professionalism or something.
Yeah, boss at me. That's his job.
Don, do you remember, I think it was a Razone post, maybe it was a Something Awful post about, it was like an argument, there was a thread going on, and people were arguing about whether or not showers were like imperialist privileges or something, like that the water consumption is like effectively exploited and stolen from the third world somehow, and so like taking a shower versus taking a bath because of the amount of water you use is like this wild extravagance that only imperialist labor aristocracy could afford, that kind of thing.
I don't remember that, but it sounds very it jives with that zeitgeist, I think. So
yeah. Good times.
I'm into that. I like that.
Okay, we'll wrap it up with this one. I think I, as an infidel, could easily get into the city of Mecca and touch the Kaaba stone. What are they going to do? Kill me? Yeah, you wouldn't be the first, to be honest. I'm sure many, many, many people have done this. I know that were like British scholars and historians and, people that used to wander around in the desert, Lawrence Arabia style, that did this. They kind of like snuck in pretending to be Muslim, or I mean, a lot of people just get invited, like the king just like invites people to Mecca, and it's like Steve Harvey and like Ariana Grande and stuff. Like it doesn't,
Yeah.
I think the idea is like there's a rule, but then there's like exceptions to the rule, and that's like every single rule in Islam kind of works like that. Like there's the rule, but then like how are we going to find our way to make things actually work, kind of a thing. So yeah, I don't think there's any punishment for death or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, people would be mad at you, like if you were just kind of like were in the middle of the throng of people going around the Kaaba and you just started like saying like, guess what, people, I'm not Muslim. Yeah, that might not end well for you, but
it could be like Indiana Jones type thing where like you touch it and then your hand just starts like evaporating as you. Yeah.
Or it'd be funny if the person like did that and then like was just struck by like awe and realized Islam is the light and converted on the spot.
Yeah.
All right, we'll end the episode with this happy comment in all caps. It says, "I hate women." So I'm glad I feel like we're hitting the right tone here with this podcast and getting the right people chiming in. I had to scroll past a bunch of white nationalist stuff to answer that one, but I did catch my eye. So I think we're doing something all right over here.
That got me good.
Sure.
Thank you for that one, whoever submitted that.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on again, Tabs.
Oh yeah. I hope I'm not overstaying my welcome with your listeners. But thank you for having me on.
Everyone likes the Tabs episodes.
No. Yeah. Widely beloved. So.
Oh man. I lost my window of time when you said widely beloved. I wanted to make a fat joke about myself, but I couldn't get it in time. So just know that the intention was there.
Yeah, so everyone enjoy your holidays. Merry Christmas, all that good stuff.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, happy holidays.
Yeah. Merry Christmas.
Oh, here's how you say it in Lithuanian. Linksmu Kalėdų.
Hyvää joulua.